Okay, so this video is just gonna kind of just me just saying whatever, honestly. Just kind of spitballing. There's no real direction, and there's a reason why there's really no direction here, and that's simply because man, Netflix does not know how to handle TV shows. Like, straight up, like if I had to say one of my surface level that isn't it's part of the show but also is out of the show's hands is how Netflix decided to handle the show. See, the show is supposed to be you're supposed to watch it weekly. Let's just say Sonic Prime is supposed to air on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on Vortex. You're supposed to watch it every Saturday, and then because the show is 24 episodes, that's the length of a full season television show. There's supposed to be a cutoff point where there's supposed to be a proper mid-season finale. And nah, Netflix is doing their typical BS with their animated shows where they'll order a full batch of episodes and then they'll lie to their audience of, we just put 8 seasons in season 1. Here's another batch from said season 1. But they lie to the audience saying, oh, no, it's a new season. And it's just really messy. And I feel like that's why a lot of people can't really judge Sonic Prime right away as easily as they think they could. And at the same time, I will say, I like that the show is well aware that the show isn't just going to air in the US on Netflix, because it's going to air on in other countries that do not have Netflix. And yeah, smart idea doing 24 episodes, and that gives any non-US television network a whole batch of episodes for a full season they can air throughout the year. That was a smart idea, Sonic Prime. That was a smart idea, Man of Action and Wild Brain. That was genius. But because they wrote the show like a television series, it did lead to Sonic Prime just feeling really awkward when it came down to this being a streaming service show. It's a bingeable show, but once you get to that final episode, you're just kind of left going, huh. I mean, it's not a bad cliffhanger, but I feel very empty inside. The show being by Man of Action is really no surprise, and when you watch the show, you could very much tell this was meant to sell Sonic Prime toys. And as I said in my previous video, I took really no issue to this, and it's simply because Sonic is not the easiest merchandisable franchise. It is on paper and when you do it. But once you start diving into it, you go, huh, these characters don't have a lot of outfits. And in terms of Sonic, after you get to Black Knight and things like that, once you're done with that, and Sonic Super Form, what else is there? So you're kind of just left with doing an odd idea pastel Sonic, Tails and Knuckles, whatever Sonic character you haven't done yet, and then reissuing old toys again. I feel that's where Sonic is right now, and I feel Sonic Prime solved that problem Jack Specifics had. But also, I noticed, not a lot of other companies really have the Sonic brand, and I think Sonic Prime helped in that area, so I'm not really upset that being toy-etic and merchandise-etic, I didn't mind that. I feel they handled that side pretty well. Hell, the episodes where they're in the I don't know how to say it, but the jungle area, I cannot, for some odd reason, I either can't pronounce it or can pronounce it, but the jungle area and the pirate area. In fact, funny enough, the jungle area is actually my favorite 2 pair of episodes, simply because, there was I felt it was a nice moral of the day type of episode. The show in general has it, but it hit differently in those two episodes. And I just like pirates. I'm Harry Hook trash, so like, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that I ended up liking the pirate episode, and the jungle one worked on a moral of the day type of thing for me. So yeah, I really honestly don't mind the show wanting to dive into a toyetic means, so in that way Sonic can be like Spider-Man, let's just say, in terms of new looks, and the other characters get new outfits too. So it's not an idea that I'm inherently like against or anything. My favorite characters ended up being Nine and Rusty Rose, but like, if you know me, America Online, like Tails and Amy are like my biases, so no shock there. But I do like Nine. I like that it's like a polar opposite of Tails' character. Like, he isn't like this polite, sweet, kind, very outgoing, friendly boy genius. Instead, you have a Tails that just life did not treat that boy good. Like, they took his backstory, and instead of Sonic being there, it's like, nah, this man grew jaded and bitter and pretty much like grew up a lot faster, but also became a lot more independent pretty quickly. Also boy genius too. And like, I like the fact that like Tails gets to have that friendship with Prime Sonic, something this Tails never got to have, but at the same time learning about friendship, but at the same time is kind of like in this weird position on whether or not to really trust Prime Sonic and other people around him. And at the same time, that boy genius side coming into play, helping Prime Sonic, while also doing his own cool stuff, like, you know, traveling the shatter space and things like that, with his own technology inspired by what Sonic said about Prime Tails. I think that's just very cool, and I feel like because Nine is such just kind of like a mystery character, just because we only have 8 episodes, I like where this Tales is going, and I'm very curious to see where things go. And in terms of like Rusty Rose, like again, you have an Amy that's just roboticized. I don't even know what happened to her, like backstory wise, on why she became a robot, but I shouldn't say robot, but like more of a cyborg than anything else. But I like the idea. Like, this is just an Amy with like zero love or compassion for anything, but like is slowly, from what I can at least gather from at least episode, I think 7 and 8, but I'm not sure. Those episodes kind of, when they do those 2 episodes thing, they kind of blend together though. But I like that Amy's probably slowly going to turn into, I don't know, like maybe an ally, maybe kind of like an in-between character. I don't know, but I dig Rusty Rose, and like, in my opinion, she honestly had like the best action sequences in the show. But yeah, and like the other variants, I enjoyed. I like that Knuckles has has like a New York accent in New York City. Rebel Rouge is a baddie, but Rouge as is always a baddie, and we stand her here. That's another bias of mine. So yeah, and then you got the Jungle World, which I like that Rouge got to have her like conniving, like kind of, you don't know where she aligns herself in. And then I kind of like that Knuckles just honestly became Sticks, which was pretty funny to watch. Uh, Big didn't have much in New York City, but Big was very charming in the Jungle World, and oh yeah, and Tails just like Mangy is like the funniest thing to me. Like Tails just being like essentially like I forgot the boy's name, but that the wild child from Wild Thornberries. I just find that funny that they just did that for Tails, and that's just funny to me. And then I do like the Amy bit from the Jungle World. She's again, like in terms of the variants of Amy, the two I enjoyed were Rusty Rose and Black Rose. Again, pirate bias here, so of course I would like Pirate Rose. Jungle Amy, like Thorn Rose, for me, it's like because like it was like there was two episodes in the Jungle World, and it was a lot of people are saying we won't return to this world, which I don't believe that for a second. But I do like that they pretty much like had an Amy that loves nature still, but she went overboard because of it, and because of it, it just caused a divide between her and Rouge, Knuckles, Tails, and Big. And I like, again, like that boils down to the moral of the day, and like Amy learning that, oh, Sonic giving Prime, or not Prime, giving Thorn Rose kind of like, hey, this is what my Amy does. You guys need to learn how to communicate and talk about your feelings. And I like that. And I like that in terms of like the Jungle World. I like that in terms of that area, like those characters are going to like repatch their friendship and try to work together and be friendly again. And I feel like because of that, they'll definitely be like, because I have a feeling in the later seasons, or later batch of episodes, I should say. I hate saying seasons, but y'all get what I mean. I feel like in the later episodes of season 1, they're going to come, Sonic or whoever, they're going to return to that world, and they're going to be like a huge ally to Prime Sonic and the other Shatter Space versions of the characters. And then the pirate world, I did enjoy. I like what they did with Dread / Knuckles. I like that it was just kind of like an inverse of Knuckles and the Master Emerald and things like that. I like that, and I like that maybe Dread's kind of gonna be a villain and maybe obsessed with the Shatter Spaces. He turned into Gollum by the end of it, so that's gonna be interesting. And then the rest of the pirate characters, they didn't have much to do, but I just like how like friendly and a little bit unhinged they are, and then Big is just Big. Um, and again, just like the Jungle World, I definitely feel like they're going to be huge allies, just simply because in terms of like Rouge, Tails, Amy, and Big, they're like super friendly, and I could definitely see them helping Prime Sonic, and then Dredge just kind of maybe weird villain obsessed with the gems, or not gems, but shards. So there's that. Also, I feel like Black Rose will definitely help Rusty Rose. So that's just what I think is probably going to happen. I don't know, but I definitely think that Black Rose will definitely be an important character for Rusty Rose. And yeah, that's about it for Sonic Prime. I didn't really talk about New York City, but really the reason why I didn't talk about it, like it's a cool setting. Like it's like it's from Wild Brain, who also did Sat AM, so I'm not surprised they want to bring back an idea of Sat AM / do a bit of a better Sonic Forces, even though I do like Sonic Forces in this house. They did a better Sonic Forces. And like that was the area where they had like the most focused, and that's why I highlighted my favorite characters being Nine and Rusty, simply because those two characters have the most development. Like Renegade Nux and Rebel Rouge, they help with the backstory and why the Resistance exists, but they're more side characters, side supporting characters than anything else. But they get enough for what the story wants them to be, and that's totally fine. Also, I feel like we got like definitely like the cool set pieces and just kind of action moments from that location. In fact, every episode in every dimension has interesting action and set pieces going on, which is something I could really praise about the show and the animation that they chose to do. I like the direction of that and like the squatch and stretch. Like it looks good in motion and things like that. And like yeah, I vibe with it. But yeah, the reason why I didn't touch upon New York that much as a setting is simply because like it as I said, like it's mostly like Nine and Rusty Rose setup, and like it's a cool location, and like and I'll say it like it is. It's mostly there for playset and action figure stuff, which is fine by me. Um, but yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. And like at the same time, I don't really have much to say about the Chaos Council, and that's simply because they're not bad characters inherently. Um, I like that they represent different age ranges of Eggman. Um, and I'll say this, they're not that threatening of villains. And I'll say this, I can buy into these Eggmans taking over Green, that version of Green Hill, and turning it into New York. I could buy it. I can definitely buy into it. And because there was not a Sonic, I could buy into it that with the power set of the characters, and especially like Tails being beaten down, I could buy that like there wasn't really characters to really do their best to fight back, and like it's taking a long time for them to really build up a huge resistance and things like that. So I can buy into it, but I'll say it's like the Egg Council, they're threatening, but they're nowhere near like prime Eggman levels of oh crap, this is like this is a huge level critical threat here. And I feel like they did that on purpose because like you gotta prop up Eggman, you gotta prop up the prime version of him. And I think they did that so in that way, like, because I'll say this, I could see Prime Eggman, like, easily getting along with the council, just that I feel like they're not, like, they're Eggman, but they're not, like, like, I feel like it's, like, Eggman, but, like, Eggman got away a little too easy, where, like, Prime Eggman would just kind of do a lot more, And I feel like they did that for a reason, probably maybe for more stories to tell if they ever meet up, or maybe like IDW or something like that. I feel like they did that deliberately, but I do like the Chaos Council. My favorites ones being Edgy Teen and Doctor Deep. I just think they're silly little guys. Um, so yeah, that's about it. I will say this though about Sonic. I don't mind how Sonic is characterized. I get it how why they did it. Wild Brain, they haven't worked on Sonic since Sonic Underground. That was the last show they did. I could see why they would want to bring back that 90s himbo-isms to Sonic. Sonic is already a bit of a himbo, but like he's a himbo to the extreme. At the same time, Archie Sonic is the only Sonic that really got to dive into the multiverse thing, but like gaming Prime Sonic, he's never done that. And at the same time, they're making 24 episodes of what is essentially a 24 season live television show that's airing in non-US regions that don't have Netflix. Like Sonic like recapping moments, or even being a bit dumb on the shatter space and like things like that. They've made it accessible for television viewers who weren't caught up with Sonic Prime, and that might be their first episode of watching Sonic Prime. So I get why they did certain things, and I'm not too mad about it. Could it have been done better? Oh, yeah, totally. But you know what? I don't mind it. Then that kind of brings me to the whole canonicity of everything, honestly. Now, I'll say this. I am all happy for Sonic Team and Sega wanting the Sonic brand to be a lot more unified and like there's a proper Sonic timeline with the games and everything. And like especially with Frontiers doing like a lot of heavy work doing Family Guy level references of hey, remember this? This also happened by the way. So like I'm glad that they want to make a timeline for Sonic, and I'm glad that the multimedia stuff and other forms of Sonic media are now being able to be unified back into the brand again. However, now is probably not the best time for Sonic Prime to come out. But I will say this also, I do blame this on Netflix also for splitting up the seasons into chunks because like everyone's just kind of scrambled on okay, well, where does Prime take place? And especially since like Sonic Frontiers dropped that it made the show a lot more messier than anything else. On top of that, you have like IDW Sonic that's been going on a lot longer than this TV show has and has done a lot of different things and is still going to this day, and it also introduced a lot of new characters and all of that. So Prime right now is in a messy spot. I do believe it's canon though, like the crew are stating. Like I could buy into it, like Sonic having a wonderful life situation. Like yeah, I could buy it. Like Shrek's been there, and there's rumors of a Shrek 5. So yeah, you know I can buy that happening to Sonic, and since it's a trope that happens with a lot of characters, like yeah, I could buy into this. Like, hey, listen, if Flash and Spider-Man's been there, hey, might as well add Sonic to that to that category and list. So yeah, you know what, I could buy it. But I will say this though, Sonic Team is gonna they're gonna need that lore expert thing ASAP and like alert fans where Sonic Prime takes place. At the same time, though, I will say this, though. Prime does create a little bit of an issue, though, simply because, like, now the games can't trample over Prime, Prime can't trample over the games, and IDW can't trample over the games and Sonic Prime. So every single branch of the Sonic IP really needs to work together. Like, that's a lot of manpower, but, you know, they really got to make that work, and that's where I'm really at in terms of, like, canonicity and things like that. For me, it's just a matter of just waiting and hoping things don't get retconned. That's really where I'm at with that. So, yeah, that's it about for the canonicity bit and like Sonic's characterization and things like that. I don't know what else to say. I think I had more to say, but I can't really think of it on the top of my head. I think I pretty much covered everything in terms of like what I wanted to cover in terms of like the show and things like that. Again, I want to go back to what I was saying before on not a fan of the chunk thing. Like that, like a lot of people can't really judge the show fully because it's just not out as it properly should. As I said earlier, the show was very much built for a live television viewing, and then once the show is done or you didn't get around to watching Sonic Prime, you can enjoy the full story once it fully drops as a full season. So it's like, don't get me wrong, loved my time with Prime. It's just that you can tell this was supposed to be a live television show and not a streaming service show. But I'll say this. I do fear for a season 2. Not the matter of it won't happen. Right now, Sonic Prime's in a good situation, but I will say this though. Definitely support Sonic Prime for a real season 2, simply because you don't know how Netflix can be. But in terms of the 8 episodes we have right now, I will say this. I like the multiverse idea right now for a season 1 arc. Emphasis on a season 1 arc. Now, I've never watched Ben 10 Omniverse, so I can't really speak on how they handled things after season 1. But there's 2 things about making multiversal stories. The first one is really what Sonic Prime's doing. Like a huge situation that a character caused, and they gotta fix it together with other multiverse or dimensional versions of the cast. At the same time, the environment and things changing has caused a lot of differences, and Sonic has to work with those differences while also learning a lesson along the way. Same with the other characters Sonic impacts throughout his Shadowverse journey. That's a typical norm for big multiversal stories. It's a common thing used in storytelling. I mean, Spider-Verse, hell, even, wow, I'm referencing Spider-Man twice here, but like, even No Way Home, like, towards the end, more so than anything else, though. But these sort of things, that's typically used for like a one story basis. Like, we're getting Spider-Verse 2, that's like another movie. It's being divided into 2 different movies, into 2 different parts. But you get what I mean. An idea like this is really good in small chunks and doses. The second story used for multiversal stories is simply a legacy character interacting with whatever multiverse version of the world they're in, and as the watcher and observer, you're experiencing how things are different from the main universe and how this character deals with that and deals with the crazy and cool concepts of what that world has to offer, and that just keeps building and building upon itself. And I just don't think Sonic Prime can do that. Sonic isn't a legacy character. He can't pass on his abilities to someone else. And because of that one reason alone, Sonic Prime can't, like, the show's called Sonic Prime. The show's got Sonic in the title. You just can't remove Sonic and get gutsy and do a New York City type of show. You can't do a jungle show. You can't do a pirate show. You can't let those universal characters tell their own universal stories because you tied Sonic to it. And I definitely worry for what a season 2 could be. I hate for the show to become stagnated. Don't get me wrong, I have faith in the crew, but that is a bit of a concern I do have going forward. At the same time, one of my biggest issues in terms of right now is Sonic really doesn't have like a Town of Springfield level of supporting cast. He does, but it's not a lot. Like, the missing characters from Sonic Prime are like the Chaotix, Cream and Cheese, Omega's not there, Gemeral's not there. And then from there, it kind of just gets to the point of, do you want to add the Babylon Rogues to that? So Yeah, Sonic really doesn't have that like town of Springfield supporting cast. And like I feel like IDW is definitely trying to do that. There isn't too many characters in IDW. There's a lot of characters in IDW, but you can see what I mean. Like when you watch the show, you can just tell that you're like, oh right, I forgot to mention my boy Silver. I love Silver. So, but like Silver's a weird fucking character because of the whole past and future stuff. And then in terms of Blaze and Marine, like they're on a different Earth, so there's also that. So that kind of brings things into question. But like in terms of like Sonic and like a town of Springfield, it doesn't really exist. And like if the only background character that is like semi interesting and like all you can say is, oh, it's a pirate with a cute Chow skull bandana and their name is Jack and they're voiced by Jacksepticeye. And if that's the only thing a background character that's supposed to for Sonic Prime that's supposed to be kind of like a town of Springfield, oof, that's not really a good look. Like I know the show isn't about background characters, but like the issue with Prime in terms of you can tell like there's a bit of an issue with it being a little formulaic is that really all you get in terms of multiverse is you get different versions of Tails, Amy, Rouge, and Big. Oh yeah, Knuckles. And also Eggman, but like they're part of the council and they're kind of like a collective group of characters. They're different, but you know, not a lot of offerings in terms of like multiversal Sonic characters. So like again like kind of goes back to like the show pigeonholing themselves into like a position where like I can't see this multiversal thing going on for like as long as they want it to, and it doesn't help that they don't have a town of Springfield level of cast. So there's a lot of things that like I think going forward, if Prime gets a second season, they need to work those sort of things out. But other than that, yeah, I enjoyed Sonic Prime, and yeah, that's the video.